I don't think I've ever played a game that has surprised me on every possible level as much as Death Stranding has. I went into it completely blind. I'd seen maybe one trailer, the one with Mads Mikkelsen, and I really wanted to experience this game for myself. Unfortunately for me, I don't have a PlayStation, so I had to wait until it was on Steam. Kind of missed my shot, so when the director's cut came out, I knew that this was the perfect time to play it. Now, it's easy to say I'm going to go into something blind, and then 5 years pass, and the game is now being ported to Steam for the second time. So with that being said, I did have quite an understanding of what Death Stranding was trying to do. And honestly, I wasn't really sure which side of the fence I would fall on, because every single thread, every single video I'd seen, there was one person who loved this game and there was one person who hated it. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be the type of game where it was like, I am absolutely engrossed, I will 100% this game, or I need to finish this as quickly as possible, just so I can kind of appreciate it and show that I gave it a stab. As you can see from the title, it's very obvious to tell which side of the fence I now fall on. The fun part about that is I can now look back at all the different things I'd read, the online aspect, the world building, how people perceive the gameplay, the story ratio, the lore dumps, and I can now look at those key little aspects that were deciding points of if I was going to play the game and see how I think of them now as opposed to then. For example, anytime someone talked about this game, they'd be like, yeah, the story's kind of cool, but I don't want to play this game for 5 hours and just deliver packages to get my story. And I was like, do I really want to play for 5 hours delivering packages just to get my story? Yeah, I do. It was an amazing goddamn gameplay experience. Beyond the idea of this being a Hideo Kojima game, Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen, I think probably the largest part of me wanting to play it was the online aspect and the idea of this connectivity. Not just how it's woven into the story and how Sam is supposed to connect the world together, but also how you as a player can affect other players. This contact can be direct or indirect, it kind of varies. For example, you build a road and that road may show up in someone else's world, or the resources you put into that road may help them build theirs. You place a ladder, you put a rope down, you might accidentally lose some cargo, you die, and now that cargo is in someone else's postbox. You may drop some cargo, someone will find it and they can deliver it for you, which is quite a fascinating level of detail considering how simple the gameplay generally is. Or you might die, respawn, and your cargo is now in an evil postbox. That way when someone liberates a mule camp and looks inside this postbox, they'll then find your gear and they can do what they want with it, they can deliver it, recycle it, blah blah blah. So there's smaller ways and there's bigger ways that you will interact with other people. And that affects you as well. You might be in the mountains, in the tail end of a run, your shoes are wearing out, you run out of stamina, your power suit's running out of battery, and then just out of nowhere, as you turn around a corner, you see a battery pack that's going to recharge your gear and help you on your way to the end. So there's a variety of ways that you'll connect with people, but that was the reason why I was like, I need to try this. I need to see the things that are going to happen. And you walk around the map, you'll see cars. You enter an area and it's completely barren. Once you've connected it to the network and you've contributed to your story goal, your single player goal, then it opens up for multiplayer possibilities. And the idea is you brought someone into the network, an NPC of course, they may have been alone for years, they're doing their own thing, and you've told them we're trying to rebuild America, blah blah blah, you help them out, they're in, and now all the other players that are in that area are also in your world, which is a good way to pair it with both single player and multiplayer. And I thought this online aspect would be really important to the gameplay experience itself, so before I played it, I would look around and read some threads and ask some questions, and I asked people, did you play it online or offline? And 90% of them said, you need to play it online. Not sure how I felt about that, because Elden Ring, for example, I didn't want to use any summons, I didn't want to get any help from other people, I want to do it all myself. But people pointed out, if you do it by yourself, your stuff is going to regress, you're going to lose stuff, it's going to take a lot of resources to build everything throughout the entire world, and that's not really the idea behind it. I don't think that personal preference is relevant, I think it's just an online game. And it's not online as in, oh man, I feel like I cheated, I feel like these roads are already built. I think I only had one road built for me through the entire game, and it was like, oh cool, I didn't have to build that one. I hope it doesn't happen again, but there was one road and I was like, oh, it's already there, cool. I'd like to say if you played it offline, you'd be doing everything yourself, but that's not really the case. Offline and offline is the same thing, but you're not really getting the sweetness. You're not getting those moments where you just happen to run out of fuel, or you happen to run out of stamina, and there's a busted out, rusted car that can just take you up the hill, or get you through that dangerous area. What you do get is a pile of resources that you have to go and collect, and you have to grind for, so you take away the cute little moments, and you replace it with a bunch of really grindy, monotonous gameplay is what I found the idea to be. Speaking of that gameplay, the next thing you're likely to hear about Death Stranding is how repetitive it is. Everything I ever heard, anytime anyone talked about it, there was always one person, yeah, but the game's just delivering packages. The game's just walking, delivering stuff. And that's true, but it's also besides the point, and it is the point, and it's kind of confusing to explain because that is the game, but also it's not the game. Because it's an experiment, and there's so many different layers to it. If you don't like the idea of delivering packages, exploring, venturing, planning, gearing up, then it's probably not going to hit the spot for you, but it does go way deeper than that. That's why this section's called gameplay in regards to story ratio, because there's a lot of gameplay and then there's a lot of story, and the pacing and the way that it's mixed together and combined doesn't really fit conventional means. It's not a conventional type of game, and that's why it just, if you watch Death Stranding, it's an experimental kind of a mishmash of smishmash and shmoo, if you know what I'm saying. Because you spend 4 hours discovering new outposts, building to them, finding the best route, setting up your course. You build some roads, you deliver some packages, you deliver some more packages, and then some more. You level up your stuff, and by that I mean you unlock new gear and you become a better delivery man. And then you get some story, and the story wasn't the part that kept me going, per se, but it was the part that was always in the back of my head, and that was what was wonderful, is that I was doing this fairly monotonous, repetitive gameplay, and I wasn't bored by it. You know, I very much enjoyed it, and I wouldn't say I didn't have streams on in the background, but in the back of my head I was always thinking, 2 hours ago they told me about this, I wonder how that's going to factor into what happens next. And then eventually you get sucked into a tornado, and now you've got 2 hours of different gameplay going on, and it is a big old experimental mishmash, and that is not for everyone. Again, I don't think that's entirely fair though, because the baseline is in exploration, and you need to have the patience and the interest in doing that, and the intrigue in the world. The problem is, Death Stranding is more than just one thing, and I think the term more than the sum of its parts, more than just the delivery boy, more than just the tornado, more than just people talking and the very long cutscenes, is the world, and there's story, and it's how that all goes in together. The game is unapologetic about what it wants to do. The story comes at you very fast, and when you're not dealing with the story, you have other things to do. And those other things do mean that you will have to care about the world and care about doing things. For example, 5-starring your facilities is difficult because you have to deliver a lot of packages, but it allows you to streamline and become a better porter. And if that sounds stupid, then maybe it's not the game for you, but I really adored that. I loved the idea of getting to a new area and just being absolutely floored and confused and overwhelmed. There's mountains, there's rain, there's slopes, there's steep hills. That's basically what a mountain is, it's a steep hill. I don't know why I've just repeated that, but I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Quickly get to this facility, try and make a point of contact, and then figure out where do I need to go from there? And if I need to go forward, how do I interweave that into my current route? And you're going to need to be doing that over and over and over again. Generally, if that's how you're tackling the game, if you're not just speedrunning it for the story, which is not really a game for that, because you're not going to speedrun anything. You're going to be delivering for 3 or 4 hours before you get to said story. And that was perfect for me. I didn't think it would be. I really didn't think it would be, because as I said, I was on the fence of, am I going to like delivering these packages? Am I going to need to put on a stream and just ignore this game until the story shows up? And if you're like that, maybe there's an option in there for just watching the cutscenes, because it is fascinating, but the whole package together, as I said, it really gives you more than the sum of its parts. The complete package gives you so much more than 25-minute cutscenes, walking simulator, randomly getting sucked into a tornado that takes you to a battlefield, and these in-depth, somewhat isolated characters. It really pulls those together and gives you an actual world to immerse yourself in. Those characters and that world are another category or section that I looked into before I played this game and whether or not I would like it. It's a big investment of time, honestly. But one of the factors into that investment is the fact that it's made by Hideo Kojima, and the man is known for depth and having an extreme, full-on nature in his games. In the world, in the characters, in the gameplay. Like, just an example, Metal Gear Solid off the top of my head, Phantom Pain. I say this every time I mention this game. If you shoot people in the head, they start wearing helmets. If you constantly hide in boxes, then the soldiers will begin to shoot the boxes before they even get near them. Just small details like that. And that's specifically gameplay, you know, if you don't shower in Metal Gear Solid 5, then you're going to get flies around you because you're covered in blood and mud. And if you have too many flies, then the enemies will hear you and you can't sneak as well. It's things like that that you can find in Death Stranding, and even more so now that the game is about character, world, connectivity, and that greater universe. You get these incredible character moments. Every single character you come across, from the main cast to the smaller NPCs, have these amazing backstories, and you can get lost in them. And honestly, some of them you don't care about, right? I believe there's over 35 of these small outposts that you will deliver to and eventually 5-star if you care enough. And some of them are cool. One of the first ones you find is called a junk dealer, and he lost his girlfriend. It turns out his girlfriend is very close, but her mum convinced her that the boyfriend had died. And you bring them together, they get married, and it's like a small character moment that has no relevance to the major story. But you did that. You brought them together, and you connected them to the greater network, and then you go on your way. And every time you come back, now they're together, and it's very, very cute. You come back, and you get a reminder of what you did and how you changed the world. And that's just a small character. The bigger characters, there's a character who every 21 minutes he goes into literal cardiac arrest and dies until he gets brought back to life because he keeps going into the afterlife to try and find his wife and child. Like, that's the level of detail from the smaller characters to the really big characters, you know? He literally dies every 21 minutes, and that is woven into the cutscenes. Literally, there's a timer on the screen and it's like, he's gonna die in about 3 minutes, so wrap this up. He's not done. And he dies for 3 minutes, and then he comes back, and you sit there and you wait for 3 minutes, and then you have another 20 minutes of cutscene. That extremeness of the characters, the absolute absurd depth and extremeness of those characters, clashes beautifully and very loudly with the monotonous nature of the gameplay. 1 second you are delivering packages and you go outside, and this is the 4th time I've mentioned it, but you get sucked into a tornado sometimes, and now you're on a battlefield and you're like, why am I here? How does this relate to the greater story? Because there's about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different layers of story going on around you, and you're just one of them. And you have to find out how these connect, because you're not just connecting the world, you're also trying to figure out how the characters connect, because stuff does happen, and it happened before you got there, and it happens after you got there. These people knew each other. The people of the world, there's a reason why they're isolated, and they did know each other once upon a time. That's part of the mystery for you to find out, and that's, again, it contrasts so beautifully and so, again, loudly, that if you didn't like the monotone gameplay, you will unfortunately miss out, because you gotta, you know, Kojima wants you to walk through the dirt quite literally to get to this story and appreciate how this world connects. Then he lets you stew on it. Then you come out of a battlefield, Sam's wondering what's going on, the people behind the phone are wondering what's going on, and they're like, yeah, we don't know. We don't know what just happened. Go get another order, come back here and we'll figure it out. So you drive for 20 minutes and you get to think about what happened. Is it a real nice pacing? I don't know. Because 4 hours of simple gameplay into 2 hours of battlefield, straight back into those delivering packages, that would jar some people, but it works, honestly. It gives you that time to ramp up and ramp down. It does it quite suddenly, but you get to think about the world and how it's changing. That time to reflect, that time to think about what just happened, that's what made me addicted to Death Stranding. That's why I couldn't put the game down. And I mean, like, I couldn't put the game down, like MMO level of addicted. I don't even know why. I couldn't explain to you why. Well, I'm going to try to, obviously, but I'd played Dead by Daylight for 6 hours, because I stream on Twitch every day at twitch.tv/CMWinter, starting at 10 PM UK, which is 5 PM Eastern, by the way. I've streamed every day for 2 years, and I will continue to do so. But I streamed Dead by Daylight for 6 hours at one point, and then after the stream, I went and played Death Stranding for maybe, like, close to 8 hours. Because you deliver your packages, you get your injection, your pure injection of story, and then you need another hit. And it's like, oh man, I'm on that high, okay, we're mellowed out, And then you start thinking about it, and you start thinking about where that puts you on the scale of this game and where the world is going. And then you're like, I need another one. I need another hit. But all while that's happening and while you're thinking about that, you are again finding new places. You are exploring. You're going to dangerous places, and the terrain gets harder to deal with. It gets harder to optimize, and you deal with that gameplay loop of reach a new area, discover, connect, and then optimize your path. Oftentimes it's roads. It's very simple. You've got roads through the mountains, roads up and down, but you will have to deal with fields, rocks, and eventually snow, so the zip lines do come in handy. That's another part we haven't even touched on. You get to reap the rewards of your labor. You aren't just go to this place, deliver, go to that place, deliver. You're going to be going backwards and forwards, so you need to put the time in. It's that type of game. You need to be willing to put the graft in because you're coming back. And if you go up this mountain and it uses all of your energy, all of your stamina, all of your oxygen, and all of your water, you don't want to do that again. That's the part where it's like, that was difficult, that was tough, but I'm here now, let's go back and I'll never have to deal with this again. No, you're coming back. You will be coming back, so put a goddamn zipline there and prepare for the future. And then next time, now it's easy. You just wee up the mountain, woo, up you go, back down. You are reaping the rewards. So that's how I got addicted. That's how I got addicted to Death Stranding. It was the gameplay loop is simple but tight. And I think there's two more points I need to touch on here, and one of them is that even after the game was done, there's an achievement to 5-star every facility, and there's about 36 or 37, somewhere around there. It's really difficult to 5-star a facility. You need to deliver a lot of packages, but that was a nice challenge to have because you would unlock new things doing it. They weren't usually important. If I needed time to stew on the story, I would sit and find a little area that I was going to go and 5-star, and I'd optimize a route, and I would dig into that. Because sometimes you aren't ready to enter a new area, and the story will say, right, we need you to go up to the mountains. And I'm thinking, well, I don't have another 2 hours in me. I don't have time to go all the way up to the top of the mountain, all the way back, connect the networks, and then optimize a route. So I'll go back and I'll go and tighten up another one instead. Even after all that, there's even a nice cutoff point as well. When the game gives you a new story beat, you can decide, do I want to go and find something else, or do I want to jump into something new? And then after those 8 hours, I'm like, yeah, I'll leave the mountains for tomorrow. And then I psych myself up and I'm back in and ready. It is an addiction. I had a problem. I played this game for maybe 7 days straight. Like 5 hours a day, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful, refreshing experience that I'm not really used to, because usually if I'm playing a game that long, the game will be over in like 2 or 3 sittings. Most games these days aren't 50 hours long, and even if they are 50 hours long, there isn't 50 hours of actual decent, like compact, tight gameplay. It's usually loose. Go and get these random collectibles and blah, blah, blah. I'm 50 hours in. I'm still playing. I'm going to get every achievement. I'm 50 hours in. I've done the story. I was juicing it before. I'm going to continue afterwards because I want to get every achievement and really experience everything this game has to offer. Let's wrap up. Let's put it together. Online aspect. It adds a lot to the game. Mads Mikkelsen. BB, can you hear me? BB, I'm here. BB, are you there? BB, can you hear me? BB. Hey, BB. Mads Mikkelsen steals the goddamn show. A lot of the characters do, even the boring characters in this game. There is a character called Mama. She's kind of boring until she's not. There's a character called Dr. Hartman. He's kind of boring until he's not. Some of them are like, yeah, we're just here, and then they're like, we're here. So not all of them are eccentric, and not all of them have something to offer until the story gets there, because the story needs its time. So all the characters are incredible. The world is very interesting to traverse. Some parts more annoying than others. When there's these giant canyons in the world that your car keeps falling down, sometimes it's a bit annoying, but that's okay. And the gameplay, I was just pleasantly shocked is the word. And the way that the gameplay and the ratio of the story fit together so beautifully. Like at some point, near the end of the game, you're dealing with like 2 hours of cutscenes, which is Kojima. And it's an experimental game. I think it's very fair to say this game is far more experimental and maybe one of the most experimental games I've ever played. Now, that's not to say I don't play any games. I try and play as many games as humanly possible just because this is my medium. This is the thing I love to do and love to play. But this is a AAA full-on studio, and it's Kojima's first whack at a game outside of Metal Gear Solid in God knows how long. So it's fair to say that it being experimental is quite unique and quite out there, because AAA studios don't usually take that kind of a punt, and it paid off, I think. It's The game lost me for words in so many different areas. In so many different times, I was just like, damn, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect this. I had an idea of what was going to go on, and now I'm confused, and now I'm overwhelmed, and I'm standing in the shower wondering what in the goddamn is going on. And when a game does that to you, it's a rarity for me. I remember the last time that happened. Funnily enough, there were 2 games around 2013, The Last of Us and Bioshock Infinite. When I finished those games, I remember sitting in science class in high school. This is 10 years ago, alright? I'm old. Just thinking about Bioshock Infinite, zoning myself out and wondering how the end of Bioshock Infinite just blew me away, and I was still trying to wrap my head around it 3 days later. When I finished Death Stranding, I'm in the shower, I'm lying in bed, just thinking about Death Stranding. And it literally motivated me to make a new type of video. So if you've seen this video, I appreciate you. If you've watched this video, if you've made it to this sentence right here, you are a special kind of person, because this channel is about Dead by Daylight. And it was, and the stream is, and I play a lot of Dead by Daylight, but I want to make content on other games, so I play a lot of games off stream. There aren't a lot of games I don't like. I try to get as many achievements in as many games as possible. I try to experience and understand and enjoy and have respect for as many games as possible, and I'm so glad I got to play through Death Stranding. I'm so glad I didn't get any of it spoiled for me, and there were no spoilers in this video, so if you haven't played it, give it a try, give it a watch, go and watch a random cutscene maybe and see if you like the vibe. Because if you can get through the gameplay, just like you can get through this video, then I'm sure you'll appreciate it, and thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you all. If you would like more, we stream every day at twitch.tv/CMWinter. There is a link in the description. I start at 10 PM UK time, which is 5 PM Eastern, and I stream every single day. I'm hoping to do more of these videos on games that I play off stream, and I hope you enjoy them. Thank you very much for your time.